Accountability is not a trend, it is a law. It is the law of the kingdom that makes leadership visible, measurable, verifiable. Leadership is not noise. Leadership is evidence. Jesus said in Matthew 7:16, by their fruits you shall know them. Not by their titles, not by their talk, not by their intention, by their fruit. Write that down. If there is no fruit, it's just talk. And let me say this like a father to a son. Talk is cheap when purpose is expensive. We must correct a confusion in our culture. Inspiration is not manipulation. Leadership is the capacity to influence others through inspiration, not manipulation, generated by a passion, motivated by a vision, birthed by a conviction, produced by a sense of purpose. But listen, accountability is where that inspiration is put on the scale. Accountability is not control. It is clarity plus consequence. Write that down. When you replace clarity with control, you are not leading, you are intimidating. But when you install clarity with consistent consequence, you are protecting purpose. Hebrews 12:6 says, whom the Lord loves, he disciplines. Discipline is love's protection around destiny. Accountability is the fence that keeps vision from wandering. Our problem today is simple. People love goals. They hate governance. They announce vision. They refuse measurement. They create a vision board and hide from a scoreboard. They say, this is my year, but they won't define the week. They have the energy for announcement, but not the humility for assessment. Are you listening? God believes in measurement. He counts the days and seasons. He numbered the tribes of Israel. He measured the temple. He named the whole book Numbers. Measurement is not unspiritual, it is biblical. Write that down, because some of you pray for results and then argue with the ruler. Accountability is not pressure, it is protection. It is the covenant that God's commitments. It says, to your purpose, you will not be hijacked by excuses. Genesis 1:28 is the first corporate charter of humanity. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion. It does not say, be busy. It does not say, be liked. It says, be fruitful, full of fruit. The world doesn't eat seeds. The world eats fruit. Say it out loud. I was born to produce fruit, not excuses. Say it again until your spirit hears you. I was born to produce fruit, not excuses. Let me expose a lie. Many think accountability is the enemy of creativity. No, accountability is the midwife of creativity. When you put a delivery date on a baby, you do not kill the child, you prepare the room. Deadlines are birth lines. If you refuse the line, your idea dies in the womb of intention. The reason some teams drown in potential is that they breathe air called tomorrow and never step into the day called now. Write this down. Accountability converts inspiration into incarnation. Ideas become flesh and dwell among us as products, services, and results. Consider two managers in the same company. One shouts, guilts, and manipulates. No scoreboard, no agreements, just emotions. The other sits down with her team and designs the work. Clear outcomes, defined standards, weekly rhythm, honest review, consistent consequence. In 90 days, the second team outperforms the first, not by fear, but by law. Why? Because what is designed can be repeated. What is repeated becomes predictable. And predictability is the birthplace of trust. You cannot build trust on speeches. You build trust on systems that produce fruit. Jesus approached a fig tree in Mark 11:13. If haply he might find anything thereon. He found leaves, green, public relations, but no fruit. He cursed the tree, not because it was a tree, but because it advertised what it did not deliver. Hear me. Leaves are talk. Fruit is proof. Some of us are presenting leaves to the market, glossy branding, clever mission statements, inspirational town halls. But when the world comes to eat, it finds nothing. This is why accountability is mercy. It reveals the barrenness before God has to expose it. I must confront you like a coach who loves winning more than applause. If people under your leadership perform only when you are present, you are a warden, not a leader. True leadership multiplies fruit in your absence. Accountability creates self-governing people. It converts external pressure into internal conviction. When standards are clear and consequences are consistent, average people do above average work because the law lifts them. Tell your neighbor, law is not bondage. Law is freedom. Traffic laws don't slow down travel. They speed up trust on the highway. Accountability laws do the same in your company, your ministry, your family. Listen carefully. When accountability is designed, not demanded, when it is a system, not a screen, when it is a covenant, not a crisis, performance becomes predictable. That is the promise I'm making to you. And predictable performance is the seedbed of dominion. Write it down. The same God who said, be fruitful, also said, subdue. You cannot subdue a market with accidental outcomes. Dominion demands discipline. Excellence is not a surprise, it is a schedule. So here is our foundation. Accountability is leadership made visible. It is the X-ray of your influence. Without fruit, leadership is just talk. If your team cannot show it, you did not lead it. If your life cannot prove it, you did not live it. Stop romanticizing potential and start respecting proof. Potential is a promise. Fruit is payment. The market pays for fruit. Let me commission your mouth before we train your hands. Say this with faith. I govern my commitments. I honor my word with work. I measure what I value. I was born to produce fruit, not excuses. Keep saying it until your habits submit. Because in this kingdom, law produces liberty, clarity produces courage, and consequence produces character. We are about to build a culture that performs without becoming controlling, a governance that protects people while it pursues purpose. But first, accept this judgment and this joy. You will be known by your fruit. And that is good news because you were designed by God to be fruitful. Now, let's prove it. Now, let's define this thing the way the king defines it, not the way wounded managers practice it. Write this down. Accountability is the willingness to be measured for commitments made under authority that is stewarded, not hoarded. Say it. Accountability is willingness for what? To be measured against what? Commitments. By whom? Authority. What kind of authority? Authority that understands it is a trust, not a throne. You are not a king over people. You are a steward over purpose. Matthew 8-9, the centurion said, I also am a man under authority, not just in authority, under authority. That is kingdom language. Authority in the kingdom is never naked. It is always covered by assignment. So hear the stack and stack it in your spirit. Purpose confers assignment. Assignment delegates authority. Authority protects commitments. Commitments require measurement, and measurement produces fruit. That is accountability. Now, let me clean the air, because some of you have been abused by counterfeits, and now you flinch at the real goal. Accountability is not micromanagement. Write that down. Micromanagement is fear, dressed up like diligence. Accountability is not suspicion. Suspicion peeks through keyholes. Stewardship sits at the table. Accountability is not public shaming. Public shaming is an insecure leader renting courage from a crowd. Accountability is not fear-based compliance. God has not given us the spirit of fear. Fear can make people hide. It cannot make people honest. In the kingdom, we don't coerce, we covenant. We don't intimidate, we illuminate. Tell your neighbor, accountability is not a stick, it is a standard. Hear me like a father. A leader does not ask for trust. A leader earns trust. How? Consistency in keeping commitments. Proverbs 20:6 says, most men will proclaim everyone his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find. In other words, everyone can make announcements, few can make appointments and keep them. 1 Corinthians 4:2 adds, moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. Required, not optional. Faithful means predictable in righteousness, reliable in duty, consistent in delivery. Consistency is the currency of trust. You don't get trust with a speech. You buy it with weeks and months of kept word. Write that down. Trust is earned in installments and lost in a lump sum. Be the kind of leader whose yes is an outcome, not an opinion. Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. That is not poetry, that is policy. Let me expose the smell of toxicity so you can repent or run. Toxic accountability happens when standards are unclear. People can't hit what they can't see. Toxicity deepens when consequences are random. If the rules move, righteousness can't stand. And toxicity becomes a culture when leaders violate the same rules they enforce. That is hypocrisy, not headship. The Bible calls unequal weights and measures an abomination. Proverbs 20:10. Two scales in the same store, one for you, one for me, is an abomination. Many organizations are not failing because of incompetence. They are failing because of unequal scales. Leaders arrive late to meetings. They schedule, then rebuke staff for tardiness. Leaders announce family first, then punish people for attending a child's graduation. That is preaching a value you won't price into the system. That's not kingdom, that's theater. Say this out loud. I will not ask others to carry a law I refuse to wear. Accountability is love for purpose. If you love purpose, you protect it with standards. Hebrews 12:6 declares, for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, not to crush the child, but to cultivate the destiny. Discipline is how love keeps a promise. Parents who won't discipline their child love the moment, not the future. Leaders who won't discipline their teams love applause, not assignment. Loving purpose means you set fences so the garden can grow. Without a fence, the goats of distraction will eat your dream. Write it down. Standards are fences for fruitfulness. When standards are clear, people feel safe. When consequences are consistent, people feel justly treated. When authority is humble, people feel honored. That feels like love, because it is. Let me give you a story to paint this in living color. A small firm in Kingston Fountain and Field Architects was drowning in late projects and gifted excuses. The founder, Miss Althea, loved people so much she wouldn't confront them. That's not love, that's fear in a silk dress. A new project lead, Joseph, arrived a quiet man with a Bible and a whiteboard. He gathered the team and said, we will do three things. Write what we owe, date when we deliver, and assign who owns. He put the verse, Luke 16:10 at the top. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. For 90 days he did not shout. He measured. He did not shame. He clarified. He did not suspect. He asked to see the work. When people delivered, he celebrated loudly. When they missed, he applied the same pre-agreed consequence evenly, even to himself. By the third month, late projects dropped by 60%. Clients returned. Creativity increased because fear decreased. Why? Love put up a fence. Accountability protected purpose. That's kingdom governance in a cubicle. I must correct a lie some of you married in your minds. If I hold people accountable, they won't like me. Listen, popularity is a poor God and a terrible manager. People don't need you to be liked. They need you to be lawful. Traffic flows because laws exist, not because drivers like the police. In the same way, teams flourish because standards exist, not because they like meetings. We are not building a fan club. We are governing an assignment. Say this with spine. I prefer respect to popularity. I choose fruit over feelings. And if you lead a home, a ministry, a department, say it again. Authority then is not a privilege to demand comfort. It is a stewardship to guarantee outcomes. That is why Jesus applauded the centurion's faith. The man said, I say to one, go. And he goes, not because I am loud, but because I am under a higher word. Your authority is only as legitimate as your submission. If you are not under a standard, don't expect people to stand under yours. Submission is not weakness, it is alignment. When you align with purpose, your authority becomes protective, not punitive. People can rest under a righteous ruler because the law shields them from chaos. So here is the revelation that will set some of you free tonight. Accountability is not pressure, it is commitment protected by authority. Pressure pushes from the outside with fear. Protection pulls from the inside with purpose. Pressure says do it or else. Protection says we agreed, let's deliver what we promised. Pressure makes you hide mistakes. Protection makes you report early so help can arrive. Write that down. In a kingdom culture, humans are valuable and commitments are holy. We do not sacrifice people for metrics. We develop people so they can meet metrics. But hear me, we do not sacrifice metrics for moods either. because the purpose is bigger than our temporary discomfort. I want to commission your tongue again, because your mouth is the governor of your life. Say this: I welcome measurement because I love my mission. I am a steward, not a star. My authority is borrowed to bless, not to boast. I will keep my word even when it hurts, because Psalm 15 says, the righteous swears to his own hurt and does not change. That's not religion, that's reliability. And reliability is the language of influence in boardrooms and living rooms. Finally, let me warn and comfort you in the same breath. When you install true accountability, some will call it control because they benefited from your chaos. Do not be moved. Keep the standards visible. Keep the consequences consistent. Keep yourself under the same law you enforce. And watch what God does. Clarity will breed courage. Courage will breed creativity. Creativity will breed fruit. And fruit will confirm your leadership without a billboard. The world doesn't eat seeds, it eats results. So protect your garden. Guard your commitments. Stand under authority so you can stand in authority. And let your love for purpose be seen in the standards you keep first with yourself, then with those you lead. Listen carefully. Culture is not a vibe. Culture is a legal system. It is not mood music in the lobby or bean bags in the break room. Culture is law, principles, commands, consequences. Every organization is governed by laws, written or unwritten. If they are not written, they are whispered. If they are whispered, they are weaponized by the few who heard them first. Write this down. What you permit, you promote. Say it again so it roots. What you permit, you promote. If lateness is permitted, lateness is promoted. If hidden brilliance is ignored while public theatrics are rewarded, theatrics become the law of promotion. Whether you codified it or not, you legislated it. The kingdom of God is a government, not a religion. Psalm 89:14 declares, righteousness and justice are the foundation of your throne. Foundation means legal base. So when Genesis 1:28 gives us the fivefold mandate, be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion, it is issuing constitutional law. But hear the wisdom: no dominion without law. Subduing implies a legal framework. You cannot subdue chaos with confetti, you subdue it with statute. That's why God put Adam in a garden and gave him a law. Of every tree you may freely eat, but of the tree you shall not eat. Genesis 2:16-17. Freedom came with fences, and blessing came with boundaries. Law is not bondage. Law is boundary, and boundary is blessing. Let me make it practical. Culture governs three things: what you reward, what you tolerate, and what you correct. That is your legal code. If you reward heroics that rescue bad planning, but never reward the boring excellence of planning, you legislate crisis as the route to promotion. If you tolerate private gossip, but punish public feedback, you legislate silence and sabotage. If you correct juniors harshly and excuse seniors quietly, you legislate caste, not character. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. In Hebrew, restraint is the discipline of law. No clear vision, no shared law, no restraint, no fruit. Vision clarifies values. Law codifies values. Accountability enforces values. Why do high performers leave your organization? It is not low pay first. It is not even workload first. It is injustice, unequal enforcement, and shifting standards. The top 10% are allergic to hypocrisy. They can survive pressure. They cannot survive pretense. Proverbs 20:10 warns, differing weights and differing measures, the Lord detests them both. Two scales in one shop, one for your favorites, one for everyone else, is an abomination. And Ecclesiastes 8:11 adds, because sentence against an evil deed is not executed speedily, the hearts of men are set to do evil. Delay justice and you disciple dysfunction. Move the goalposts and you mentor mediocrity. I'm talking straight because destinies are at stake. Let me show you a living parable. A digital agency in Nairobi, Beacon and Brick, talented team, beautiful branding, bleeding profits. The CEO loved energy and family vibe, but the unspoken law was chaos. Projects shipped late, Meetings started island time. And one senior designer, brilliant but toxic, was untouchable because the CEO feared losing him. The best 2 project managers resigned within 6 months, not for money, but because they were tired of apologizing to clients for rules that only applied on Tuesdays. A new COO arrived, a quiet woman named Miriam, and she brought law. She gathered the company and said, "We will make our culture visible." She wrote 3 house laws on a white wall where everyone could see. Commitments are contracts. If you sign a date, you own the date. Miss once, we coach. Miss twice, you lose leave privileges for 30 days. Miss thrice in a quarter. Rule review. Meetings begin on the minute. Late arrivals stand to report the cost of their lateness to the team. No shame, just cost. Zero gossip. Feedback travels up, not around. Violation moves to formal mediation immediately. And she did the holiest part. She put herself under the same law. The first week she came late once. She stood, reported her cost, and donated her personal bonus to the team lunch fund. No speeches, just statute. Within 90 days, on-time delivery rose from 58% to 91%. Client referrals returned. The brilliant but toxic designer refused the law and resigned. Did the company die? No. Creativity increased because justice relieved the honest of carrying the dishonest. The top performers, the ones you thought you needed to impress, brought their friends back because the culture was now lawful. Are you hearing me? Culture is governance. Authority in the kingdom is always a package deal. Dominion comes with responsibility. If you want to sit in the chair, you must love the scales. Hebrews 1-8 says, "Your throne, O God, is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of your kingdom." A scepter is a symbol of law. In the workplace, your scepter is your standards. If the standard is invisible, your authority is imaginary. If the standard is shifting, your authority is illegitimate. Authority without accountability is impersonation. It wears the robe but refuses the court. Let me give you a diagnostic. Ask your team 3 questions this week. What behaviors get people promoted here? What behaviors get ignored here? What behaviors get corrected here? Do not answer them yourself. Listen, their answers reveal your real constitution. If the people say, "We get promoted for saving the day at the last minute," your law is adrenaline, not excellence. If they say, "We ignore missed deadlines as long as the person is charming," your law is popularity, not productivity. If they say, "We correct juniors for small errors and avoid confronting seniors for big ones," your law is fear, not fairness. Write this down. What you correct, you protect. What you reward, you repeat. What you ignore, you incubate. And remember the imperative I gave you. What you permit, you promote. But Pastor, won't all these laws make us stiff and kill creativity? No. Law does not kill life. It frames it. Music without time signature is noise. Dance without choreography is flailing. Business without standards is gambling. Creativity flourishes when it knows the boundaries of play. God did not begin creation with a song. He began with a sentence. Let there be. That's law language. Command, clarity, consequence. The earth obeyed and beauty was born. In your company, say, let there be a weekly review at 10 a.m. Say, let there be a public scoreboard. Say, let there be one policy for all rank levels regarding deadlines and communication. Then back the sentence with consequence. That is how light appears. Now I want you to prophesy to your office, your shop, your ministry. Culture is a legal system. Say it again. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord by serving His law, righteousness, and justice at work. We will write our laws. We will wear our laws. We will weigh all by the same law. We will reward what we say we value. We will correct what violates our values. And we will stop tolerating what is eating our garden. This is not a suggestion. This is governance. For those of you who feel the fear of man choking your spine, receive this courage. You are not building a fan club. You are stewarding an assignment. And assignments require law. Here is the promise. When culture becomes lawful, accountability stops feeling like surveillance and starts feeling like security. People rest because the river has banks. High performers stop scanning the exit because justice stands guard at the door. And then Genesis 1:28 comes alive in your calendar. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion, because law gave your purpose a spine. So, leader, legislate. Don't scream, codify. Don't assume right. Don't threaten, apply. And watch what God will trust you with when He sees you can be trusted to govern what you already have. Now that the banks of the river are set, let's talk about the water that must flow. This is the fruit test. Write this down. The world doesn't eat seeds. The world eats fruit. Say it out loud. Again, your ideas are seeds. Your meetings are seeds. Your strategies are seeds. Your prayers are seeds. Seeds are holy, but seeds are not edible. The market, your clients, your congregation, your community, your family, they cannot survive off your brainstorming. They need bread. They need results. This is why Jesus said in John 15:8, by this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit. Not much talk, much fruit. God is not glorified by potential. He is glorified by performance that fulfills purpose. Let me define our terms so there is no hiding place. Seed is promise. Fruit is proof. Seed is instruction. Fruit is outcome. Seed is we will improve customer experience. Fruit is our repeat purchase rate increased from 22% to 37% this quarter. Seed is we value excellence. Fruit is defects dropped from 5% to 1% and rework hours declined by 48%. Write this down. Accountability is the conversion system that turns seed into fruit, inputs into outputs, intentions into performance, covenants into consumption. Accountability is the oven that takes the dough of your plans and bakes the bread people can eat. Here is the leadership failure of our age, and I say it with love and with fire. Leaders are celebrating effort instead of fruit. They reward activity and call it progress. We clap for long meetings, late nights, and big slideshows, leaves, not figs. We promote the firefighter who rescues a project he set on fire by planning poorly. We host an all hands to say thank you for trying, but never show the scoreboard that proves we're applying. That is not kingdom. In Matthew 7:16, Jesus already certified the measurement. You will know them by their fruits. If your measurement is applause, you will build a theater. If your measurement is fruit, you will build a kingdom. Write it down. Activity without outcomes is entertainment. Accountability without measurement is theater. Let me move this from preaching to practice. Fruit must be measurable, visible, and consumable. 5 metrics will keep you honest. Quality, speed, reliability, customer impact, and financial stewardship. Say them with me. Quality, did we meet or exceed the standard of excellence we promised? Measured with defect rate, error counts, returns, complaints resolved on first contact. Speed, how fast did we deliver what we promised? Measure cycle time, lead time, on-time completion, percentage, reliability. Can we do it again and again without drama? Measure consistency of on-time delivery, week over week, variance from plan and schedule adherence. Customer impact. Did we change the user's life in a way they can feel and repeat? Measure retention, referrals, net promoter score, testimonies that include specifics, not adjectives. And financial stewardship. Did we create value without destroying the vessel? Measure gross margin, cost per outcome, cash conversion cycle, and return on invested labor. Write this down. Excellence without stewardship is ego. Stewardship without excellence is stinginess. Kingdom fruit is both. I can hear someone say, but Pastor, what about innovation? We're exploring. Exploration still has fruit. Early fruit is learning. So write this too. In innovation, fruit equals validated learning that reduces risk. Then measure it. Number of experiments run, hypotheses validated, cost per learning, and time to decision. Even pioneers must measure. God told Adam to name everything in the garden. Naming is measurement. Measurement is stewardship. Stewardship is worship. Are you hearing me? Now, let me paint a picture. A small roasting company in Accra, Lion and Loaf Coffee, full of passion, drowning in inconsistency. Their weekly meeting was a seed festival. Ideas sprouting on sticky notes, vision on the wall, and no harvest in the bank. A new manager, Daniel, installed a fruit board on the shop floor, 5 columns labeled quality, speed, reliability, customer impact, stewardship. Under quality, they posted weekly cupping scores and defect percentage. Speed showed order cycle time from click to ship. Reliability tracked on-time roast schedules. Customer impact displayed repeat orders and 5-line customer stories with numbers. Stewardship posted margin by SKU and waste percentage. Every commitment had a date and an owner. Miss once, coach. Miss twice, reassign privileges. Miss thrice in a quarter, roll review with a development plan and clear consequence. No shouting, just law. Within 8 weeks, cupping scores rose 2 points on average. Order cycle time dropped by 42%. On-time schedules hit 93%. Repeat orders climbed from 18% to 31%. And waste fell by half. The team smiled more. Not because life got easy, but because life got lawful and fruit became visible. Creativity actually increased. A barista invented a new cold brew process that improved margin on a slow-moving product. Why? Because accountability converted seeds into fruit. They stopped baptizing busyness and started measuring bread. The Bible is not allergic to deadlines and dashboards. Luke 13:6-9 gives us the parable of a fig tree that produced nothing for 3 years. The owner said, cut it down. The vine dresser pleaded, give me 1 more year. I will dig around it and fertilize it. If it bears fruit, fine. If not, then cut it down. That is measurement with mercy and consequence. Notice the timeline is clear, the intervention is specific, and the consequence is certain. Leaders, write that down. Dig, fertilize, date, decide. Mercy is not the absence of measurement. Mercy is an extension with a plan. And John 15:2 adds, every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Pruning is measurement with love, removing what is good to make room for what is excellent. Let me confront a seductive counterfeit. Noise is not fruit. Slack threads buzzing are not fruit. Calendar blocks filled are not fruit. Emails sent are not fruit. Fruit is the delivery of value to a stakeholder by a specific date at a defined standard within righteous cost. If you cannot show it, you did not ship it. Tell your neighbor, ship it. Say it again. Heaven's instruction was never be busy. It was be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion. Fruit first, then scale, then distribution, then control, then dominance. Some of you are asking God for subdue and dominion when you have not yet passed be fruitful. The gate to dominion is delivery. So here's your mini declaration. And I want you to say it with your chest. I will be measured by fruit, not by noise. Again, I will be measured by fruit, not by noise. One more time, like a covenant. The world doesn't eat seeds, it eats results. My King is glorified when I bear much fruit. I welcome pruning. I welcome measurement. I embrace outcomes. Now, practical marching orders for this week. Choose 3 fruit metrics from the 5. Quality, speed, reliability, customer impact, stewardship that are most vital to your assignment. Define the baseline, honestly. Set a 30-day target that stretches but does not deceive. Assign an owner by name, not by department. Publish the measure where everyone can see it, daily or weekly. Define the consequence for miss and the reward for hit ahead of time and apply it to yourself first. And then this is holy, review it at the same time every week. Ecclesiastes 12:14 says God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing. Regular review is earthly judgment that saves you from heavenly embarrassment. Finally, I bless your hands to turn seeds into bread, ideas into invoices paid, prayers into products shipped, compassion into customers served, faith into fruit. May your scoreboard sing. May your meetings shrink. May your outcomes grow. And may your metrics Tell a story that gives God glory, because the world ate your fruit and lived. Now, let me correct something before it kills your harvest. Everything God creates, Satan counterfeits. Accountability has a counterfeit. Write this down. Toxic accountability is control without clarity. Righteous accountability is clarity with consistent consequence. Say it again so your soul hears it. Control without clarity produces fear. Clarity with consistent consequence produces fruit. Control is what insecure leaders use when they lack design. When you don't have a system, you will attempt to supervise everything. You will manage people because you fail to manage the process. And when you manage people, instead of managing systems, you start touching souls when you should be adjusting structures. That is how accountability turns toxic. James 1:20 says, the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God. Your anger cannot manufacture excellence. Only righteous design can. Let me expose the signs so you can repent quickly. Write these down. Moving goalposts. Dates and targets change after the work starts. People hit what you said, then you say, that's not what I meant. That is not leadership. That's deception. Secret standards. The real evaluation criteria live in your head or in private chats with favorites. Staff discover the rules during the funeral of their promotion. That is a differing way. Proverbs 20:10 calls it an abomination. Consequences by mood. If your penalties change with your emotions, you are discipling fear, not faith. Some get a slap on the wrist because you're in a good mood. Others get a public flogging because you didn't sleep well. Favoritism. One law for the charming and another for the quiet. Different speeds for your high potentials and another for the faithful backbone. God hates partiality, so do top performers. Performance conversations without support. You correct without coaching. Demand without tools. Require outcomes but refuse training, time, or resources. That's not accountability. That's abdication wearing a badge. If these live in your house, you are incubating rebellion in the name of accountability. And hear me as a father to leaders. Fear will give you compliance, but it will never give you creativity. Luke 19 and Matthew 25 show us the servant who hid his talent. Why did he bury it? I was afraid. Fear does not plant. Fear buries. Fearful cultures produce hoarders of seed, not producers of fruit. Staff will hide mistakes, hide ideas, hide data, and hide potential because your reaction is more dangerous than their failure. Discipline is holy if it is done for development. Punishment is venting if it is done for your relief. Write that down. Discipline trains, punishment drains. Discipline asks, how do we make you and the system stronger so this improves permanently? Punishment says, I'm embarrassed. Someone must pay so I can feel powerful again. Ephesians 6:4 says, fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Leaders, do not provoke your people. Develop them. Never discipline emotionally. If your heart is hot, your judgment is crooked. Cool your spirit, then correct. Mercy without measurement is mush. Measurement without mercy is murder. The kingdom way is measured mercy, clear law, calm correction, consistent consequence. Let me paint a parable. A mid-sized tech firm, Northbridge Systems, was famous for sudden all-hands audits. The CEO, gifted, visionary, insecure manager. Metrics were a fog. Standards changed after quarterly reviews. A missed date under one director meant a quiet chat. Under another, it meant public shame. People started managing optics instead of outcomes. Polished slides, padded buffers, sanitized dashboards. A young engineer, Aisha, stopped proposing optimizations because every idea meeting turned into a gotcha over last week's numbers. Turnover rose. Quality dipped. The CEO blamed culture fit, but it wasn't culture fit, it was lawless control. A board advisor finally confronted him with scripture. He who rules over men must be just, ruling in the fear of God. 2 Samuel 23:3. She made one demand: make the standards public, make the metrics stable, make the consequence the same for every rank, including you. In 3 months, With clarity installed and emotion restrained, surprise audits stop, optically inflated decks vanish, and true performance surface. Aisha brought her optimizations back, saved 18% cloud cost. Why? Because fear left the room and law took the seat. Listen, accountability is not a weapon. It is a weighing scale. Scales don't shout. Scales don't sulk. Scales don't love one customer more than another. Scales just weigh. When your accountability starts shouting, sulking, or selecting, it stopped being a scale and started being a stick. Drop the stick, fix the scale. You shall have honest weights and honest measures. Leviticus 19:36. Write it down. Honest weights require visible standards. Visible standards require written agreements. Written agreements require consistent application. I can hear someone say, Pastor, people won't move unless I put fear in them. No, people won't move because you haven't given them a clear road and a just consequence for parking on it. Fear accelerates in the short term and explodes your engine in the long term. The kingdom does not run on fear. It runs on conviction, vision, and law. Remember, the chain purpose births conviction. Conviction births vision. Vision sets standards. Standards define metrics. Metrics inform consequence. If you cut out standards and metrics, you will fill the gap with mood and manipulation. Stop it. Say out loud, I will not manage by mood. I will govern by law. Here is the pivot. To remove toxicity, you don't lower standards, you remove secrecy. You don't relax the law, you reveal it. You don't stop correcting, you correct the same way every time. Set the standard before the sprint. Define the metric before the work. Agree on the date before the commitment. Outline the consequence before the miss. And then apply it to the highest rank first. Leaders go first into accountability, not last. When you place yourself under the law, your people will rest under your leadership. When you hide behind your title, they will hide their talent from you. Let me commission your mouth with 3 sentences. Say them. I trade control for clarity. I trade favoritism for fairness. I trade punishment for development. Again, one more time. This is not softness. This is sovereignty. Genesis 1:28 still stands. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion. But you cannot subdue with chaos, and you cannot dominate with double standards. Build righteous systems and let justice do the heavy lifting. Your authority will increase when your clarity increases. Your culture will breathe when your consequences are consistent. And the world will taste your fruit, not your fear. Now, let's build the staircase that carries your team from inspiration to dominion. Write this down. Leadership flows from purpose. Accountability flows from purpose too. Turn the sentence upside down and start from the bottom. Purpose births conviction. Conviction births vision. Vision sets standards. Standards define metrics. Metrics schedule reviews. Reviews define consequences. And consequences protect the purpose. Say it with me slowly so your spirit memorizes it. Purpose, conviction, vision, standards, metrics, consequences. Again, one more time. This is the accountability ladder. Purpose. Why do we exist? Not your slogan, your assignment. Purpose is not preference, it is mandate. If you do not anchor accountability in purpose, everything that follows will feel like punishment. When God spoke to humanity, He did not start with a threat. He started with a purpose. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion. Genesis 1:28. That is not pressure, that is purpose. If your team cannot recite the purpose, do not recite penalties. Habakkuk 2:2 commands. Write the vision, make it plain, that he may run who reads it. Write this down. If it's not plain, they can't run. If they can't run, you can't measure. If you can't measure, you can't govern. Conviction. Purpose must become personal. Conviction is internal law. It is when the why becomes a must. Without conviction, vision is wallpaper. Romans 14:5 says, let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Your job as a leader is to preach the purpose until it becomes conviction. Tell them the stakes. Show them the people. Tie the task to the transformation. Conviction turns compliance into commitment. Say it. We don't push people, we persuade them. Write it down. Manipulation demands. Conviction compels. Vision. Once conviction ignites, vision clarifies where we are going next. Vision is picture with parameters. Where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. Proverbs 29-18. Vision restrains because it defines boundaries. Sight shows what is. Vision shows what must be. Post the next horizon. In 90 days, we will improve first contact resolution from 62% to 85% to honor our purpose of serving with excellence. That is vision speaking like law. Don't draw clouds, draw coordinates. Standards. Here is where most leaders fail. They create standards from preference, not from purpose. Standards not born from purpose will always feel oppressive and arbitrary. But when a standard is the child of purpose, it feels like protection. If our purpose is dignity and service, our standard might be emails answered in 24 hours with name, next step, and timestamp. That is not my mood. That is our mandate in measurement form. 1 Corinthians 14:33 says, God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. Standards end confusion. Peace is the product of clarity. Metrics. If you can't define it, you can't measure it. If you can't measure it, you can't govern it. Say that out loud. Again, metrics translate standards into numbers and checkpoints. Standards say on time. Metrics say 95% on-time delivery by Friday 5 p.m. measured weekly. Standards say quality. Metrics say defect rate under 1. 5% monthly, track daily. You do not have accountability. You have adjectives until a number and a date appear. Numbers are not cruelty. Numbers are honesty. Reviews. Measurements without moments of judgment are decorations. Schedule your judgment day every week. Daniel set his windows toward Jerusalem 3 times a day. He had rhythm. You must schedule your review rhythm. Same time, same agenda, same scoreboard. Ecclesiastes 8:11 warned us what happens when sentence is delayed. Dysfunction multiplies. So do not delay reviews. Reviews are where we compare fruit to promise, celebrate, prune, and decide. Keep them calm, short, and lawful. The goal is development, not performance theater. Consequences. Now, and only now, do we arrive at consequences, and they must be published, proportionate, and personal. Deuteronomy 28 lays out blessings and curses tied to obedience and disobedience. Notice, God published both, no surprises. He didn't punish emotionally. He legislated outcomes. Consequences are not retaliation, they are reinforcement. They teach the nervous system of your culture that purpose matters. Miss once, coach. Miss twice, lose a privilege. Miss thrice, rule review. And this must apply to you first. Leaders go first into the law. Say it, I will be judged by the law I write. Let me expose the breakdown point. Many of you start at the top of the ladder. You begin with threats. If you all don't too, and you wonder why rebellion and burnout bloom in your garden. Threats without purpose feel like slavery. Slaves comply. Sons collaborate. When you flip the ladder, purpose first, conviction second, the same correction becomes formation, not humiliation. When standards rest on vision, people feel respected because you explain the why before you enforce the what. When metrics flow from standards, measurement feels fair because we agreed to the ruler before we used it. When reviews are rhythmic, there is no panic. When consequences are consistent, people relax into responsibility. Accountability becomes empowering because it protects purpose, not egos. Let me give you a live parable. A community clinic, Riverside Grace, was drowning in wait times and complaint emails. The director, a good woman with a servant's heart, kept scolding the front desk. You must be faster. That's a consequence disguised as an adjective. People cried in bathrooms. Turnover spiked. And wait times grew worse. A new operations lead, Samuel, decided to climb the ladder. Purpose. We exist to restore dignity to the sick by providing timely, compassionate care. They repeated it aloud in morning huddles until it became conviction. We don't make people wait in pain. Vision. In 60 days, reduce average wait time from 74 minutes to 30 minutes. Standards. Triage in under 6 minutes. Registration, completion in 4. Nurse in room within 10. Doctor within 20. Updates every 15 minutes. Metrics. Samuel posted a dashboard at the nurse's station. Average triage time, registration time, rooming time, doctor time, and patient update compliance by shift, by day. Reviews. 1. 5-minute stand-up at 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. to inspect the board, no blockers, and assign a single owner. Consequences. First miss in a week led to shadow and coach. Second miss removed solo triage privileges for 3 shifts. Chronic miss triggered a personalized development plan and temporary redeployment with the same structure applying to Samuel and the physicians. In 4 weeks, average wait fell to 36 minutes. By week 8, 28 minutes. Complaints dropped by 62%. A nurse suggested a check-in script and a color-coded card that indicated the last update time to the patient. Creativity returned because dignity returned. Why? Because accountability flowed from purpose, not from intimidation. The people felt protected by the law, not policed by a leader's mood. Now take this into your house. Write your ladder. Do not delegate it to HR first. Write it yourself, then share it so it becomes our law. Start with a 2-sentence purpose for your team that names the people you serve and the value you deliver. Test it by asking, would we bleed for this? If the answer is no, it's not purpose, it's PR. Preach it until your team can say it in their sleep. Then carve a 90-day vision from that purpose. 1 priority outcome, stated with a number and a date. From that vision, craft 3 to 5 standards that, if practiced daily, guarantee the 90-day outcome. Translate each standard into 1 or 2 metrics. Post them where everyone can see them. Schedule reviews same day, same time, same agenda for the next 90 days. Finally, publish consequences, coaching steps, privilege changes, role reviews. Simple, humane, and consistent. Apply to all ranks. Let me pass to your mouth now. Say this 3 times. If I can't define it, I can't measure it. If I can't measure it, I can't govern it. If I can't govern it, I can't multiply it. Again, one more time. This is why so many stay stuck at be fruitful and never reach multiply. Multiplication is governance at scale, and governance requires numbers that speak the law. Someone is thinking, but Pastor, won't all these metrics make us mechanical? No. Law doesn't kill life, it protects life. Marriage has vows. Medicine has protocols. Flight has checklists. You don't want a poetic surgeon. You want a precise one. Precision produces peace. Peace permits creativity. Creativity then serves the purpose without breaking the bones of the process. Remember, Jesus fed 5,000 with order. Make them sit down in groups. Luke 9:14. Order preceded overflow. Write that down. I commission you, leader, to ascend the ladder and to bring your people with you. No more jumping to consequence because you are tired. No more standards written from your pet peeves. No more numbers that float like fog. Plant your purpose. Preach until conviction rises. Paint the vision so plain that runners run. Codify standards that protect the purpose. Translate them into metrics that tell the truth. Establish reviews that prune with love. Apply consequences that develop, not destroy. And then watch the kingdom law unfold. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion, because you built your accountability on purpose, not on intimidation. The world would taste your fruit, and your people would thank you for the banks that turned their river into power. Now we legislate it. Write this down. You don't demand accountability, you design it by law. And in the kingdom, law begins with covenant. Amos 3:3 asks, can 2 walk together unless they are agreed? Agreement is not a feeling, it is a contract. Covenant is clarity on paper. Here is a covenant of work. What, by when, by whom, and what does done mean? Say that out loud. What, when, who, done. Again, one more time. When you start with covenant, you end with fruit. When you start with vibes, You end with violence, emotional violence, cultural violence, because disappointment is a predictable crime where there is no law. Let me define the covenant in precise language so your team can execute tomorrow morning. What? The single deliverable described in nouns and verbs, not adjectives. Launch customer onboarding portal V1 with sign up, identity, verification, and tutorial flow is a what? Make it better is witchcraft. When the exact date and time with time zone. Deadlines are not decor, they are law. Who? One owner with authority to orchestrate contributors. Not a committee, not the team, one name on the hook. A body with two heads is a monster. And finally, done. The definition of done must be public, testable, and demowable. Passes these 5 acceptance criteria, meets these 2 metrics, approved by this role, documented in this location. Matthew 5:37 says, let your yes be yes, and your no, no. Your definition of done is how your yes gains bones. Ownership next. Say this with me. One owner, many contributors. Again, one more time. Shared responsibility without ownership produces excuses. If everyone is responsible, no one is accountable. In the kingdom, headship is singular. Ephesians 4 speaks of one head. You can have shared effort, but you cannot have shared ownership. The owner carries the outcome and the orchestration. Contributors carry assigned tasks and must submit to the owner's sequence, standards, and timeline. Create an ownership clause in every covenant. Owner, Aisha. Contributors, Paul, Renee, its security. Owner authority. Prioritization. Task assignment within agreed scope. Escalation, rights to director. This is not tyranny. This is traffic control. Order does not oppress, it organizes. Now, timelines as law. God runs his kingdom by appointed times. The feasts in Leviticus 23 are called appointed times. Jesus died on Passover on time. The Holy Spirit arrived at Pentecost on time. Daniel prayed at set times on time. Write it down. Time is holy. When you treat deadlines like suggestions, you profane time. Ecclesiastes says there is a time to plant and a time to reap. If you miss your planting season, you sabotage your harvest. Leaders, hear me. A missed deadline is not a private inconvenience. It is a public breach. It injures the entire system. Marketing plans slip. Cash flow shifts. Trust erodes. Deadlines protect the ecosystem. Publish them like holy days. Guard them like borders. And if you must move one, move it by law. Document the reason. Gain consent from impacted owners and reset downstream dates. Proverbs 13:12 warns that hope deferred makes the heart sick. Chronic deferrals make culture sick. Keep your dates. Heal your house. Let me show you the operating rhythms that keep the covenant alive. Governance reduces drama. Drama grows in undocumented places. You need 3 rhythms: weekly scoreboards, daily priorities, and documented decisions. Weekly scoreboards are public, simple, and binary. Green or red, delivered or not. Metric, hit or miss. Own a name beside each item. The scoreboard is not a mirror for shame. It is a window for truth. Post it where eyes must pass it. Your office wall, your team channel, your Monday meeting. Second, daily priorities. Every owner publishes their top 3 by 9 a.m. 3 outcomes, not 10 activities. Sight loves long lists. Vision loves focus. Third, documented decisions. Install a decision log. Date, decision, owner, rationale, due date of effect, where it lives. The devil feeds on ambiguity. When you write it, you bind it. Psalm 19:7 says, the law of the Lord is perfect, restoring the soul. Law restores the soul of your culture. It calms the drama and redeems wasted energy. Let me give you a live parable. Harbor Light Logistics had 5 co-owners of a key project. Digitized route planning. 6 months, 12 meetings, 0 product. Everyone had opinions. No one had ownership. Deadlines moved like clouds. A new COO, Justice Rivera, yes, that was his name, walked in with a whiteboard. He wrote, Project Covenant. He listed what? Deploy Route Optimizer V1 for 3 cities. When? June 35 p.m. EST. Who? Owner Nolan. Contributors, dispatch, data, finance. Done. Routes recomputed under 60 seconds. 5% fuel savings in pilot. Audit log enabled. SOP documented. Training delivered. He established weekly scoreboards every Monday. Daily, top 3 posts by 9 a.m. and a decision log pinned in Slack. He clarified consequences. First, miss. Coach in 24 hours. Second, miss. Timeline and resource renegotiation with director. Systemic miss. Role review. He declared one more law. No meeting without a decision recorded. In 9 weeks, they launched V1 in 2 cities. By week 12, 3. Fuel savings hit 6.3%. Turnover dropped. Arguments almost vanished. One driver said, "It's peaceful now. We finally know the law." Isaiah 32:17 says, "The work of righteousness will be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever." Righteous governance produce quiet confidence. Bridge this to spiritual authority so your conscience is anchored. Where there is no law, there is no justice. Where there is no justice, there is no trust. Psalm 89:14 declares, "Righteousness and justice are the foundation of your throne." If justice is the foundation of God's rule, it must be the foundation of your leadership. Justice requires published law and predictable judgment. If you judge by memory and mood, you commit injustice by design. People do not distrust you because you correct. They distrust you because they cannot predict how you will correct. Law makes leadership predictable. Predictability builds trust. Trust accelerates speed. Speed multiplies fruit. That's Genesis 1. 28 inches motion. Be fruitful. Multiply. Replenish. Subdue. Have dominion. Governed by law. Now, let me put tools in your hand you can use tomorrow. Adopt the covenant card for every deliverable. Purpose tie. Which purpose and vision this work serves? What? 1 sentence deliverable. When, date and time, zone, owner, 1 owner, name contributors, owner authority. Done. 5 acceptance criteria maximum, each testable. Resources, budget, tools, access, approvals, secured. Risks and assumptions, 2 lines, not a novel. Rich scoreboard it will appear on. Review cadence, decision log link. Consequence, pre-agreed coaching and escalation path. Make it 1 page. Anything longer becomes lawless by length because people won't read it. Habakkuk 2:2, again, make it plain so runners can read while running. Leaders are worried about scope. Covenant is not cage. Covenant is clarity. Scope can evolve, but evolution must be lawful. When change appears, don't smuggle it in. Run a change law. Owner proposes the change, names the impact, resets when, with consent, updates done, and posts the decision. No secret scope, no private promises. You are dismantling darkness. John 3:21 says, "He who practices the truth comes to the light." Bring your work to the light. Someone is thinking, "Pastor, won't this slow us down?" No, drama slows you down. Indecision slows you down. Rework slows you down. Law builds lanes, and lanes increase speed without crashes. Airbus doesn't fly faster because the pilot is inspired. It flies faster because the air traffic system is lawful. Let all things be done decently and in order. 1 Corinthians 14:40. Order is not optional. It is apostolic. I want to pastor your mouth and your calendar. Say this 3 times. I don't demand accountability. I design it. Again, one more time. Now open your calendar and schedule your law. By 5 p.m. today, choose your top 5 deliverables for the next 30 days. For each, write a covenant card. Assign 1 owner. Define done. Set the date. Publish the scoreboard. Schedule the weekly review. Same day, same hour, same duration. Create the decision log and pin it. Teach your people to post their top 3 by 9 a.m. and announce the consequence path calmly and publicly. Then go first. Put your own name on a covenant card and let your team hold you to it. Do you see a man diligent in his work? Proverbs 22:29 says, he will stand before kings. Diligence is not hustle. Diligence is lawfulness. Finally, seal it with Scripture. Psalm 89:34, God says, my covenant I will not break, nor alter the word that has gone out of my lips. Leaders, be like your king. Keep your covenants. Do not alter your word casually. When you model covenant keeping, your culture will mirror covenant keeping. Agreement births alignment. Alignment births acceleration. Acceleration births abundance. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion by law with love for the Lord. Now go write the covenants that will protect your purpose and produce your fruit. We have written the covenant. Now we must protect it without becoming cruel. Hear me, leaders. Consequences are not anger. Consequences are reality speaking back. Write that down. Gravity is not mad when you jump. It is consistent. Law has outcomes. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. Galatians 6-7. Reaping is not rage. Reaping is result. So in the kingdom, consequence is not retaliation. It is reinforcement. It teaches your culture that our words have weight, our agreements have spine, and our purpose is protected by law. But we must practice consequence, like our King, without cruelty. The Lord disciplines those he loves. Hebrews 12:6. Love disciplines, hatred abandons. Anger humiliates, wisdom restores. Write this down. Consequence is for development, not for domination. Say it. No humiliation, only restoration. Again, one more time. Your job is to build people while protecting standards. You separate the person from the performance. You can say with a steady voice, you are valuable, and the standard is still the standard. That sentence is a scalpel. It cuts without killing. Let me give you the kingdom sequence so you stop skipping steps and wounding people. Clarify, coach, resource, measure, warn, enforce. Say it aloud. Again, one more time. This is the justice path. Skipping steps creates fear, resentment, and rumors. Following the sequence creates safety, growth, and gratitude. First, clarify. Most failure is born in fog. If you did not write it, they did not know it. Make it plain. Habakkuk 2:2. Restate the purpose, restate the standard, restate the metric, restate the date, restate the definition of done. Ask them to repeat it back. Confirmation is compassion. Second, coach. Coaching is correction with dignity. It is specific, short, and scheduled. Here's what we missed. Here's what good looks like. Here's how to do it. Proverbs 27:6 says, faithful are the wounds of a friend. A faithful wound is precise and clean, no sarcasm, no public spectacle, no character assault. 30 minutes. Practice the task together. Record the next check-in. Third, resource. Many leaders rebuke a drought they created. If training is missing, provide it. If access is blocked, open it. If the tool is broken, fix it. If capacity is overloaded, reallocate. Exodus 5 is the picture of cruelty. Pharaoh demanded bricks without straw. Kingdom leaders never demand fruit without providing the seed, soil, and water. Write this down. No straw, no standard. Resource before you rebuke. Fourth, measure. Coaching without measurement is therapy. Governance requires proof. Inspect the scoreboard at the agreed cadence, green or red. Improved or stagnant, no vibes. If it's working, celebrate loudly. If it's not, return to steps 1 through 3 for a final pass. Love tries before it tears. Fifth, warn. A warning is not a tantrum. It is a documented, sober notice that the next miss will trigger predefined consequences. I set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life. Deuteronomy 30-19. Publish the choice. Remind them of the purpose. Affirm their value. State the law. Name the next step. 6. Enforce. Not with glee, not with gossip, not with a social funeral. Enforce with consistency and calm. Remove privileges. Adjust role. Pause authorizations. Or, if required, end employment with dignity, documentation, and a restoration door where appropriate. Justice applied the same way to all leaders first. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of your throne. Psalm 89-14. If justice is the foundation of his authority, it must be the foundation of yours. Let me shepherd your conscience. Separate identity from behavior. Jesus restored Peter after a public failure. Feed my sheep, John 21:17. He confronted the denial. He reaffirmed the man. He restored the mission. That is consequence without cruelty. Say it with me. Address the act, affirm the person, adjust the assignment. Again, one more time. When you correct behavior, do not curse destiny. Speak to who they are while pruning what they did. Now listen carefully. Hypocrisy destroys culture faster than incompetence. James 3:1 warns that teachers will receive a stricter judgment. Leaders go first under the law. If you arrive late and weaponize punctuality against the team, you are committing cultural treason. If your numbers miss and you hide them while punishing another's red cell, you are sowing rebellion in the walls. You shall do no injustice in judgment. You shall not be partial to the poor, nor honor the mighty. Leviticus 19:15. No partiality, no favorites, no exemptions. Publish the same consequences for everyone, including you. If you break the covenant, take your own medicine publicly. That single act will heal 10 years of distrust. Let me give you a parable you can use tomorrow. A design lead named Mara missed 2 consecutive done definitions on the onboarding portal. Key acceptance criteria failed, and the date slipped twice. Old culture would have shamed her in a meeting and stripped her title out of anger. New culture followed the sequence. Clarify. The owner, Aisha, restated the standard and metric and had Mara repeat the definition of done. They paired for a 30-minute build, rehearsed the review checklist, and practiced handoff. Resource. IT granted needed API access. Budget approved a UI testing tool. A senior dev shadowed for 1 sprint. Measure. The next weekly scoreboard still showed red. Warn. Aisha documented a formal warning, kind in tone, clear in law. One more. Misactivates the role adjust consequence for 30 days. Enforce. After the 3rd miss, they enacted the already published consequence. Mara shifted temporarily to component maintenance, lower risk, while completing 2 trainings. Her deployed privileges were paused. She kept her salary and a clear path to restoration. They scheduled a reevaluation at day 30 with a demo requirement. At day 28, Mara delivered 2 flawless components, passed the demo, and re-earned deploy rights. She cried not from shame, but relief. She said, "You didn't humiliate me, you healed me." That is justice, doing discipleship at work. Restoration is not weakness, it is kingdom. Brethren, if a man is overtaken in any trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness. Galatians 6:1. Restoration requires a path. Publish a restoration covenant. The precise behaviors to rebuild, the trainings to complete, the time frame, the mentor, the metrics, and the review date. When they fulfill it, remove the stigma. Don't keep people on lifelong probation because you enjoy control. That is not leadership. That is witchcraft. Release them to run again. And hear me on this. When the issue is willful defiance or chronic breach after the sequence, enforcement may mean separation. Do it lawfully, compassionately, and swiftly. Delay corrodes trust. Swiftness is mercy to the team. Document, bless, and let them go with dignity. Sometimes the most loving consequence is distance. Even God separated Adam from the garden for stewardship's sake, yet he clothed him on the way out. Clothe people with dignity, even when you must close the assignment. Finally, tie consequence back to destiny. Say this out loud. Consequences protect purpose. Again, one more time. When consequence is consistent, developmental, and universal, creativity blooms because fear dies. People relax into responsibility. Trust rises. Speed increases. Fruit multiplies. That is Genesis 1, 28 inches culture. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion, guarded by justice, dripping with mercy, anchored in law. Leaders go first. Judge yourself by the law you wrote. Keep your covenants. Apply your sequence. Restore your people. And watch the world eat the fruit of a house where justice and love kiss in every review. Mercy and truth have met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed. Psalm 85:10. That kiss will feed nations. Now here the next movement. We have law in the house. Now we need laws in the market. God did not end Genesis with a prayer meeting. He started business there. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion. Genesis 1:28. That is not a memory verse. That is a performance operating system. Say it with me slowly. Fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, dominion. Again, one more time. This is the ladder your team must climb. Accountability is the engine that moves you from the first rung to the last. Without accountability, you stop at fruit and die in obscurity. With accountability, you scale into dominion, and that is your mandate. Fruitful first. Fruitful means produce a thing the world can consume. The world doesn't eat seeds. The world eats fruit. Write that down. Fruit is not busyness, not opinions, not a deck. Fruit is the shipped product, the closed contract, the healed patient, the solved problem. In a company, fruit sounds like this. Version 1 launched. Customer onboarding time reduced from 9 days to 2. Fuel savings realized at 5.8%. Accountable fruit has metrics. So you ask, what is the one product, the one outcome, the one service delivered by this date, measured by these standards, verified by this owner? If you cannot name it and measure it, you didn't produce fruit, you performed theater. But this is where most teams stall. They celebrate the first mango and build a shrine to the tree. They taste success once and call it destiny. Listen, fruitful is the proof you can. Multiply is the law that you will again and again. Why do teams stop? Because the first fruit came by talent, not by law. It was birthed by a hero, not by a system. There was no recipe, no standard work, no definition of done that a second person could follow. You cannot multiply what you did not codify. Moses saw a tabernacle on the mountain, but God said, see that you make them after the pattern shown to you. Exodus 25-40. Pattern is what turns revelation into replication. Write that down. Pattern is the parent of multiplication. So step 2, multiply. Multiply means replication that will turn one into many without losing quality. In business, multiply looks like training 3 more people to deliver the same result in 30 days. It looks like opening a second location with the same taste, the same service time, the same cleanliness every day. It looks like one sales playbook producing 10 sales reps with consistent close rates within 1 quarter. Your accountability here is replication standards, time to competence for a new operator, variance from the baseline output, percent of tasks that meet the done definition under a new owner, and a weekly report that shows how many fruits are now produced by people not named the founder. If you cannot train it, you don't have a business. You have a performance. Tell your neighbor, we're not building performers, we're building producers. Let me give you a parable. The cookie lady, I love her, made the best coconut cookies in Nassau. People lined up, tourists packed them in luggage. Fruitful, yes. But she slept 3 hours a night, and the line died when she caught the flu. Then a mentor said, write the recipe. Not just ingredients, oven temp, rack position, pan material, scoop size, weight in grams, baked to raven, cool time, packaging method. She wrote the pattern, filmed the process, created a checklist, and trained 4 young women. In 8 weeks, they produced the same cookie blindfolded. Customers couldn't tell the difference. That is multiply. She didn't lose her gift, she cloned her fruit. Accountability made her recipe public, her training measurable, and her quality predictable. Now we're talking. 3rd, replenish. Replenish means fill the earth with your fruit. Distribution is holy. A product unused is stillborn potential. Replenish asks, where will this fruit live so consumers can find it when they need it? What channels will carry it? What rhythms will restock it? In tech, replenish is your deployment pipeline, your documentation library, your customer onboarding flows, your support SLAs. In retail, replenish is inventory turns, on-time delivery, and stockout prevention. In services, replenish is calendar capacity and response times. Accountability here looks like distribution metrics. channel coverage percentage, on time in full delivery rate, stockouts per 1,000 units, mean time to onboard a new customer, weekly restock rhythm posted in public, and a map of assigned owners per channel. Teams that fail at replenish create orphans, great products left at the hospital door with no family to carry them to the world. Go into all the world is a distribution command. God believes in channels. Harbor Light Logistics, remember them? They launched V1 in 3 cities. That was fruit. They trained dispatchers in 2 more cities with the same result. That was multiply. Replenish came when they installed a rollout playbook, a city launch kit, a 2-week training sprint, API keys pre-provisioned, fuel partners notified, drivers scheduled, and a go-live checklist signed by the owner and the city lead. Each Friday, an expansion scoreboard showed city name, go-live date, owner, green or red, and the next 2 cities queued. Their stockouts weren't cookies. They were missing API tokens and training hours, so they assigned owners, set dates, and replenished diligently. Peace entered the system because distribution was governed. 4th, subdue. This is my favorite one to teach because it is so misunderstood. Subdue is not the oppression of people, it is the mastery of processes. Let all things be done decently and in order. 1 Corinthians 14:40. Subdue means wrestle chaos into predictability. It is quality control, process control, access control, change control. It is incident response, swiftness, and variance reduction. Your accountability here are control metrics. Change failure rate, mean time to restore, defect escape rate, audit compliance pass rate, cycle time and its variance, first pass yield, and documented controls with named custodians. You subdue variance like David subdued Goliath. You aim precisely, you strike consistently, and you cut off the head of excuses. Luke 16:10 says, he who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. Subdue is the faithfulness of the least. Small checks, quiet controls, boring rhythms that make greatness normal. When you subdue, excellence stops being an event and becomes your ecosystem. Now the crown dominion. Dominion is not domination of people. Jesus said, whoever desires to become great among you shall be your servant. Mark 10:43. Dominion is the market's trust anchored in your mastery. It is when your name becomes shorthand for the solution. When someone says, we need route optimization, and the room answers, call Harbor Light. It is when your quality is so consistent that price becomes a conversation, not a constraint, because value is proved. It is when competitors adjust to your standards, when regulators ask for your counsel, when partners align their calendars to your launch dates. Your accountability here shifts to strategic metrics, category share, net promoter score, price premium over commodity, cost to serve advantage, inbound demand ratio, and brand recall. You don't bully your way to dominion. You serve your way there so relentlessly that the market bends. Diligence, lawful, measured, consistent diligence will stand you before kings, Proverbs 22:29. Dominion is the invitation to that court. Let me stitch the ladder together with the engine of accountability so you can drive it on Monday. At Fruitful, your scoreboard asked, did we produce binary outputs with acceptance criteria met? At Multiply, your scoreboard asks, can others produce it consistently? Time to competence and variance from baseline under new owners. At Replenish, your scoreboard asks, is it available where it's needed, when it's needed? Coverage and on time and full with owners named. At Subdue, your scoreboard asks, is the system under control? Defects, incidents, cycle time, audits, all with trends and thresholds. At Dominion, your scoreboard asks, do we lead the category through trust and value? Share, NPS, margin, inbound demand. Each rung demands law, clear definitions, owners, metrics, consequences. You cannot sermon your way into dominion. You system your way there under God's law. Why am I pressing this? Because some of you are living off yesterday's mango. You tasted fruit and wrote a testimony, but you never wrote a recipe. You bragged about inspiration and forgot installation. Write that down. Inspiration without installation is deception. Multiply requires documentation. Replenish requires distribution. Subdue requires control. Dominion requires consistency over time. Tell your neighbor, your calling is not survival, it is dominion through discipline. Say it again, one more time. Discipline is love for your future. And hear me, what's your Whopper? Everybody sells burgers. Not everyone sells a Whopper. Dominion demands distinctiveness. Your multiplication should not clone mediocrity. It should replicate what is uniquely you. So define your signature move, your non-negotiable taste, the quality line you will not cross, the customer promise you print on your heart, then write it down, teach it, test it, and guard it with subdue. That's how uniqueness scales. That's how brands are born in closets and end up on continents. Let me end with a picture. I was in a city where a small clinic started with one room and one nurse. They served the poor fruit. They created a care protocol, triage in 5 minutes, vitals in 3, doctor in 10, medication in 30, follow-up text in 24 hours. They trained 2 more nurses to run the protocol blindfolded. Multiply. They partnered with churches as distribution centers, mobile days every Saturday, posted schedules, medicine stock, generators checked, cold chain monitored, replenish. They implemented control temperature logs signed, incident reviews weekly, error rates tracked, retraining after any deviation, subdue. In 2 years, the health department called them to design the city's rapid care standard. Grants chased them. Other clinics mimicked their protocol. The poor were served with dignity at scale. Dominion. How did they get there? Not by hype, by holy accountability at every rung. Clear purpose, clear standards, clear metrics, clear consequences. That is Genesis 1:28 with a stethoscope on. Leaders, I commission your mind to think in ladders from today. Stop celebrating first fruit as final victory. Take the energy of fruit and buy documentation. Take the joy of multiply and buy distribution. Take the reach of replenish and buy control. Take the strength of subdue and buy trust. Then wear the crown of dominion with humility, remembering it belongs to the king and you are his steward. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion by law with love on purpose. Accountability is the engine. Start it. Keep it tuned. Don't skip the oil changes. And watch your seed become a tree. Your tree a forest. Your forest a nation's shade. Now we bring the revelation down to the floor where people breathe. Dominion is not magic. It is maintenance. You don't sustain excellence with goosebumps. You sustain it with governance. Write this down. Performance culture is built with visible measures and disciplined rhythms, not motivational speeches. Say it again, one more time. I love inspiration, but inspiration without installation is deception. The installation is scoreboards and meetings that function like courts, public law, clear evidence, timely judgment. First, scoreboards. If you can't see it, you can't steward it. Write the vision and make it plain, that he may run who reads it. Habakkuk 2:2. Running requires reading. Reading requires seeing. Hidden metrics create hidden failure, and hidden failure will ambush your future. Proverbs 27:23 says, be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds. That is a scoreboard verse. Your flocks are your projects, your patience, your sales pipeline, your uptime, your inventory turns. Diligence means you look at the numbers until they look back at you. Let me teach you how to build a holy scoreboard. Choose the vital signs 5 to 7, not 57. Too many dials make pilots crash. Define each metric in one sentence with an owner's name beside it, not a department. A department can hide, a name can answer. Set thresholds. What is green by this date? What is yellow? What is red? Decide the cadence. Daily, weekly, monthly. Decide the place. A wall the team walks past. A screen in the lobby. A channel pinned for all. Not a spreadsheet in someone's laptop coffin. And decide the consequence. What happens every time a cell is read who meets what they do, how fast? Write this down. Numbers are not feelings. They are witnesses. They testify to your stewardship. I walked into a warehouse last year. On the wall, 12 feet wide, 5 columns. On-time chip, defects per thousand, pick accuracy, safety incidents, overtime hours. Each had a weekly line, green or red, owner's name, and a note. If read, 2 4-hour root cause due. No speeches, no blame, just law. In 6 months, defects fell 38% and overtime costs dropped by 1/3. How? Not prayer alone posted truth plus prompt repentance. Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 8:32. Freedom in operations is measured truth on a wall. Now meetings are not therapy. Meetings are courts of decision. Write that down. 1 Corinthians 14:40 says, let all things be done decently and in order. A meeting without an agenda is a rebellion with snacks. In the kingdom, meetings have 3 sacred instruments: a docket, a clock, and a gavel. The docket is the agenda, what cases we will hear in order. The clock is the discipline start on the minute, end on the minute. Time is a moral issue. Lateness is a leadership leak. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, there is a time for everything, respect it. The gavel is the outcome. What did we decide? Who owns it? When is it due? Where is it recorded? We govern with 3 meeting rhythms. Say 3. Daily, weekly, monthly. Daily stand-up. 15 minutes. No chairs if you need courage. We face the scoreboard only. Each owner declares green or red. If green, say kept, not good vibes. If red, state the blocker in 1 sentence and the next action by owner and time. No stories, no weather reports. Parked off-topic items. Close in exactly 15. That rhythm alone will deliver 30% of your peace. Weekly Operations Council, 60 minutes. Agenda published the day before. We review trend lines, not excuses. We decide resource moves, who needs help, who can spare capacity, what unlocks a stuck promise. We document every decision in the minutes with owners and dates. Let your yes be yes and your no, no. Matthew 5:37. A recorded yes is a covenant. Then monthly strategic council, 90 minutes. We step back from the trees to see the forest. We ask, are we still aligned to purpose? Do our standards need raising? Which metrics become obsolete as we grow? Which new distribution channels are opening? We close with assignments, not applause. Let me correct a mindset that is poisoning many teams. Reporting is not tattling. Reporting is worship of stewardship. Say that again. When you bring your numbers, you are bringing your talent back to the king to report. After a long time, the Lord of those servants came and settled accounts with them. Matthew 25-19. Kingdom culture normalizes reporting as love for the assignment. Hebrews 13:17 says, leaders watch over your souls as those who will give an account. If spiritual leaders must report to God, then operational leaders must report to their covenant. Don't hide data like Adam hid in the trees. Come to the meeting clothed in truth. This requires a language shift. In my house, you are not allowed to say, I'm trying. Trying is the lullaby of failure. Say, I committed, or I broke my word. Painful honesty is the birthplace of power. Replace stories with numbers. Not it was a busy week, but we completed 12 or 15 tasks. Cycle time improved from 8.2 days to 6.9. 2 defects escaped. Root cause identified. Fix due by Thursday. Replace blame with solutions. Not WIT didn't give me access, but access pending, ticket 4,231. Escalation sent. Contingency path B scheduled with Sam by 2 p.m. Write this down. Excuses are permission to stay the same. Solutions are decisions to change. Say it. We end excuses with law. Establish the 2 4-hour rule. Any red metric must have a written root cause and a repair plan within 1 business day. Establish a blocker ladder. If an owner cannot remove a blocker within 24 hours, they must escalate 1 level up with a written ask. Silence is not faith. Silence is sabotage. Establish a dependency log. If your work hinges on another team, name it, date it, and get a signature. In Numbers 1-2, God told Moses, take a census. God counts people and tribes because counting is caring. Count your blockers. They will shrink. Let me show you a living picture. North Coast installers had a culture of charisma. Big launch days, high fives, missed deadlines. The owner got converted to law. He painted one wall blue and named it the Sea of Truth. He posted 5 metrics with owners: site ready percent, first pass install percent, average install time, callback rate, cash collected within 7 days. He instituted the daily 15, the weekly 60, the monthly 90. He outlawed trying and required I committed or I broke my word. First month, anger. Second month, silence. Third month, laughter and speed. Why? Because people knew where they stood, and shame died when truth lived on the wall. In 6 months, first pass install jumped from 71% to 93%. Cash collection from 58% to 88%. A competitor asked him, what's your motivational secret? He said, scoreboards and meetings. That's kingdom. Now, close the loop. Accountability without recognition becomes legalism. Recognition without accountability becomes flattery. We need both. Reward fruit publicly. Correct gaps privately. Repeat consistently. Her works praise her in the gates. Proverbs 31-31. The gates are public. Create an honor minute in your weekly council. 60 seconds of specific metric-based praise. Not she's awesome, but Tasha reduced onboarding time from 9 days to 3. Customers 1,047 through 1,058 wrote 5-star comments. She documented the playbook. Thank you. Then keep correction private, surgical, developmental, following the sequence you already learned. Clarify, coach, resource, measure, warn, enforce. Matthew 18:15 says, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. Private first, lawful always, restoration ready. Build simple rewards that reinforce law, not luck. Publish a green streak board. How many consecutive weeks a metric stayed green? Celebrate the process, not just the pop. Offer learning budgets tied to documented improvements. Give the microphone to quiet performers whose numbers sing. And when someone turns a stubborn red to green, let the team hear the method. Testimony is not just for church, it is for culture. They overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Revelation 12:11. In operations, the testimony is the playbook that worked. Leaders, hear me. You must go first. Show your own scorecard publicly. If you miss, say it first, say it plain, and show your repair plan. That single act will license honesty across your house. Stop pontificating in meetings you don't prepare for. Come with your numbers, your decisions, your gavel. Teach your people to love the wall of truth. When a new hire asks, how do we know if we're winning? Point to the scoreboard and say, there. When they ask, what do we do when we're losing? Point to the meeting and say, decide. Assign calendar. Let me commission your next 7 days. By tomorrow, choose your 5 to 7 vital signs. Define them in one sentence. Name owners. Set thresholds. And post them where eyes must pass. By the next business day, enact the daily 15. No chairs, no stories. By the next 7, run your first weekly 60 with a docket, a clock, and a gavel. Ban trying. Install I committed. Publish the 2 4-hour rule for Reds. Write this down. Post it. Meet it. Report it. Close it. Say it again. One more time. Do this and watch peace enter your corridors. In 30 days, you will feel speed without hurry. In 60, you will see red cells repent and turn green by habit. In 90, you will sense dominion approaching because law has taken its seat and excuses have left the building. Be fruitful. Multiply. Replenish. Subdue. Have dominion enforced by scoreboards. Adjudicated by meetings. Celebrated by recognition. And cleansed of excuses. This is how a culture performs. Not by sparks, but by steady light. Now leaders, take the gavel. Govern your metrics. Honor your meetings. End your excuses. And let your fruit speak so loudly that the world stops eating seeds and starts buying your harvest. Now we seal it. Teaching without commissioning is entertainment, and you were not born to be entertained. You were born to govern. Your future is waiting at the other end of a decision you make tonight. Open your mouth and agree with heaven. Say it. I am necessary. Say it again. I am responsible. Say it. I keep commitments. Say it louder than your excuses. I produce fruit. The world doesn't eat seeds. The world eats fruit. Write that down and write it on your soul. Listen, your team is not broken. Your system is unclear. Clarity is mercy. Law is love. When people know what the promise is, who owns it, what done means, when it is due, and what happens if it is kept or missed, dignity returns to the workplace. That is why write the vision and make it plain, that he may run who reads it. Habakkuk 2:2. Running requires reading. Reading requires clarity. Clarity produces courage. I'm not here to beat you. I'm here to build you. You are better than your chaos. You don't need new people as much as you need new law. And when you design law with purpose, standards, metrics, and just consequences, excellence becomes normal and tyranny has no oxygen. So I am issuing a covenant for the next 90 days. Not a wish, a covenant. Covenant is the highest form of commitment. Let your yes be yes and your no, no. Matthew 5:37. Here is the charge. In the next 90 days, you will govern your commitments until fruit appears in your hands. You will prove purpose by results. You will not hide. You will not blame. You will not negotiate with vagueness. You will be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and taste the first scent of dominion, not because you shouted, but because you kept covenant under law. First, define 3 measurable outcomes that matter. Not 9 dreams, 3 outcomes. 3 fruits the world can taste by date with acceptance criteria. We will reduce customer onboarding time from 9 days to 4. We will ship version 1 to 100 paying customers. We will increase first pass quality from 82% to 92%. Clear fruit. If you cannot measure it by the calendar and verify it by evidence, it is not an outcome, it is an opinion. Say this. Vague targets violate dignity. Second, assign single owners, not committees, not departments, names. Who owns onboarding time? Who owns version 1 ship? Who owns first pass quality? Put the name on the wall. A name can answer. A department can hide. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. Ezekiel 22:30 says, God sought a man who would stand in the gap. He looked for a name. Be that name. Third, post a weekly scoreboard for each outcome, visible where eyes must pass. Choose the metric, set the threshold, color it green or red, and write the owner beside it. Every red cell must have a root cause and a repair plan within 24 hours. This is the 2-4-hour rule. Do not negotiate with it. Mercy without law is mush. Law without mercy is murder. We will have both truth with grace, clarity with compassion, consequence with coaching. 4, enforce consequences consistently. Hear me. Consequences are not cruelty. They are justice training character. Same law for everyone, including you. If green stays green, recognition is due public, specific, tied to the metric. Her works praise her in the gates, Proverbs 31:31. If red persists without repentance or repair, then coaching, resourcing, time-bound improvement plans, and, if necessary, role changes occur calmly, honorably, documented. Do not let sentiment assassinate standards. He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. Luke 16:10. If we excuse the least, we will never trust you with the much. 5th, live the rhythms. Daily 15 for truth, weekly 60 for decisions, monthly 90 for alignment. No chairs if you need courage. No stories when numbers can speak. Replace I'm trying with I committed or I broke my word. Painful honesty is the birthplace of power. Teach your mouth to serve your destiny. When a block appears, escalate within 24 hours with a written, specific ask. Silence is not faith. Silence is sabotage. After a long time, the Lord of those servants came and settled accounts with them. Matthew 25 to 19. We settle small accounts weekly so we can receive large assignments yearly. Now, a reality check, because I love you enough to warn you, every true vision will be tested. Your 90-day covenant will meet resistance. Expect it. The first 7 days, emotions will fight structure. The second week, old habits will bargain for longer. In the third week, a red cell will tempt you to explain instead of repair. Don't flinch. Accountability is the test you pass by design, not by emotion. You conquer chaos by keeping your laws when you least feel like it. Daniel opened his windows and prayed, as was his custom. Daniel 6:10, under threat of lions. Customs conquer crisis. Your customs now are scoreboards, meetings, and consequences kept in love. Write that down. Customs create courage. Let me speak to your identity one more time, because behavior flows from belief. Put your hand on your chest and declare, I am not a victim of pressure. I am a steward under authority. I am not a consumer of dreams. I am a producer of fruit. I don't wait for accountability. I design it. I honor my word above my feelings. I welcome correction as protection. I am necessary to my generation. I am responsible for my assignment. I keep commitments. I produce fruit. Say it again. One more time. And leaders, go first. Post your 3 outcomes publicly. Put your own name on the wall. If you miss, don't hide. Announce the miss. State the root cause. Present the repair plan and execute it. That single act will give permission for truth to stand up in your house. But if you hide, everyone will learn to disguise failure. Adam hid, Christ stood. Be like Christ. He set his face like flint, Isaiah 50:7. Set your face toward dominion. As we close, receive this commissioning in your spirit. May the God who spoke order into chaos give you courage to enforce standards with love. May he anoint your eyes to see purpose, your hands to write standards, your mind to choose metrics, and your heart to apply consequences justly without partiality. May he delight to establish the work of your hands, Psalm 90:17, as you do the small things faithfully, decently, and in order. May your next 90 days convert purpose into measurable fruit, fruit into patterns, patterns into distribution, distribution into control, and control into trust. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion under law, in love for the King. Now take your pen, write your 3 outcomes, write the names, post the scoreboards, announce the 2-4-hour rule, schedule the daily 15, the weekly 60, the monthly 90, ban trying, install, I committed. Build a culture that performs without toxicity because it is governed by clarity and grace. 90 days from now, when we speak again, I want to taste your fruit. Not a story, a harvest. And when the world comes hungry, they will not find your seeds, they will buy your fruit. Go now. Govern your commitments. Your crown is waiting on the other side of your law.